The city never truly sleeps. Neon signs flicker, headlights smear across wet pavement, and somewhere in the distance, a saxophone bleeds a lonely tune into the night air. In this restless world, Isabella, Izzy, Hart moves like a shadow, quick, cautious, forgotten. She pulls her threadbare jacket tighter against the rain, her fingers clutching a battered sketchbook like it's the last piece of her worth. Beneath the grime and weariness, her striking eyes still hold a spark, one the world hasn't managed to extinguish. Tonight should have been like every other. Another endless walk through streets that don't care if you live or vanish. But fate, as it often does in stories worth telling, had other plans. A black luxury car rounds the corner too fast. Tires hiss against the slick road. Headlights catch Izzy mid-step. She freezes, one hand instinctively raised as if to ward off both car and destiny. The car brakes hard. A heartbeat later, the door swings open. Adrian Kingsley steps out, tall, sharp-suited, radiating command even in the storm. He's the kind of man who belongs in penthouses and behind boardroom doors, not on rain-slick streets confronting lost girls. Their eyes lock. It shouldn't mean anything, but it does. "I could have killed you," Adrian mutters, more shaken than he lets show. Izzy squares her shoulders, masking fear with defiance. "Then you'd be one more name on a long list of men who didn't see me coming." He stares, caught off guard by her fire. Then, without a word, he reaches into his car, pulls out a fresh cup of coffee, untouched, and holds it out. She eyes it, pride warring with need. Finally, she snatches it from his hand, the brief touch sending an inexplicable jolt through them both. "I don't need your charity," she bites, but the steam warms her cold fingers all the same. "Consider it a peace offering," Adrian replies, a wry smile playing at the edge of his mouth. Without another word, he gets back in the car and drives off into the night. Izzy watches the taillights vanish, heart pounding for reasons she refuses to name. Little did they know, that single moment would alter both their fates forever. Because sometimes the person you least expect is the one the universe keeps putting in your path. And sometimes, a midnight cup of coffee is the first thread in a story you were never meant to escape. Have you ever crossed paths with a stranger you couldn't forget? Tell us in the comments. Your story might just be our next video. The city never sleeps. And neither did she. The city's heartbeat pulsed through dim alleyways and neon-lit streets. Isabella, Izzy, Hart moved like a ghost through the shadows, unseen but ever watching. Her world wasn't built of walls and chandeliers but of cracked pavement and discarded coffee cups. She clutched a battered sketchbook close to her chest, humming an old love song beneath her breath. It calmed the ache in her chest. Love songs and fairy tales were for people with homes. Till she hummed. Tonight, she wasn't hunting for scraps of food or a sheltered doorway. She was chasing a memory of who she used to be, the daughter of Charles Hart, a name once spoken with reverence in this very city. Before his scandal, before the trial, before the headlines, and before Mason. The sharp glare of headlights snapped her back. A sleek black car cut around the corner, too fast, tires skimming a puddle. Izzy stepped off the curb too late. Reach. The car swerved, halting inches from her knees. The driver's door flew open. "Are you insane?" A deep, commanding voice barked. Izzy's chin lifted, defiance in her gaze. She expected some self-important executive barking orders, waving money, thinking charity erased recklessness. But the man who approached her wasn't what she expected. Broad-shouldered, sharp suit clinging to his frame like it was made for no one else. Dark hair tousled by the wind. His face was striking, handsome in a cold, untouchable way. But it was his eyes that snagged her breath. Deep stormy gray. Eyes that looked like they'd forgotten how to feel. Adrian Kingsley. She recognized him. Everyone did. Heir to Kingsley Holdings. The city's golden boy. The man who bought skyscrapers like candy. "Are you hurt?" His tone softened as his gaze dropped to her hands, clutching that tattered sketchbook like it was the crown jewels. "I'm fine," Izzy bit out. Just another night in paradise. Her sarcasm drew a flicker of amusement from him. Unexpected, disarming. I owe you a coffee. Or 10, he said, offering a half-smile. I don't take handouts, she snapped. Good. I wasn't offering one. There was an awkward pause. An unspoken thread of curiosity twisted between them. Spark. Then she was gone, vanishing into the shadows, leaving behind the faint scent of rain and something sweet. Adrian stood there, frowning after her. A girl like that didn't belong in alleys. She belonged in paintings, in music. And for reasons he didn't understand, he couldn't forget her face. 2 days later, Adrian stood on site at a condemned building slated for demolition. An old property he'd inherited as part of a lucrative redevelopment deal. His phone buzzed, boardroom dramas stacking up. He needed this project signed, sealed, and delivered before his father's merger meeting next week. He didn't expect to find her again. Izzy, huddled in the shell of the building, sketching a crumbling windowpane. Her sketchbook pages smudged with charcoal. Hair tied back with a fraying ribbon. You, Adrian said, more startled than he meant to sound. She froze, guilt flickering through her expression before she masked it with steel. You again. You live here. I survive here. The vulnerability in those words landed somewhere deep in Adrian's chest. He took a breath. Listen, it's not safe. I'm having this place torn down tomorrow. Then I'll find another spot. She closed her sketchbook, standing tall despite the weight of the world on her shoulders. He admired her defiance. Most people flinched under his gaze. Not her. Stay in a hotel, he said. One night. My treat. No charity, she said flatly. Fine. Consider it payment for not suing me for attempted vehicular manslaughter. That earned a smirk. And dinner, he added, surprising them both. Izzy studied him, eyes narrowing. She wasn't naive. She knew men like him. Thought they could buy the world. But his gaze wasn't predatory. Was lonely. I pick the diner, she said. And you don't get to ask questions. Deal. The diner was a hole-in-the-wall 24-hour spot on Elm Street. Vinyl booths and flickering neon lights. A waitress named Flo who looked like she'd seen it all. They sipped bad coffee in silence for a while. Adrian watched her sketch absent-mindedly on a napkin. A crumbling cathedral. Palace in the clouds. Those places real, he asked. Some, she shrugged. Most are places I'll never see. You don't belong in the street, Adrian said quietly. And you don't belong behind a desk, she shot back. I've seen your eyes. You're a prisoner with a better wardrobe. His lips twitched. Maybe. There was something intoxicating about her honesty. No pretense. No flirtation. She saw straight through him. When she stood to leave, he caught her wrist gently. Izzy. She stiffened. No one had called her that in years. Don't go back to the alley tonight, he murmured. Why? So you can feel like a hero. No, he admitted. Because I can't stop thinking about you. The air thickened. Neither one ready to name what sparked between them. Both too scarred to believe in it. I'm not yours to save, Kingsley. I know. And yet, he didn't let go. The next morning, chaos reigned at Kingsley Holdings. Adrian's father, Richard Kingsley, demanded his attendance. You'll marry Helena Carrington's daughter, Richard ordered. It finalizes the merger. Secures our legacy. Adrian bristled. Helena was his ex-fiancée's mother. The woman who once destroyed him. I won't do it. You don't have a choice. That night, Adrian drove aimlessly until he found himself outside the same diner. And there she was. Sketchbook in hand, half-finished coffee, her presence as steady as gravity. What if I told you, he blurted, sliding into the booth. I needed a fake fiancé for a few months. He stared. And what if I said I'm done living for other people? Izzy arched a brow. And what's in it for me? A fresh start, Adrian said. Money. Roof. A way out. Silence stretched. Fake, she repeated. He nodded. A slow, dangerous smile curved her lips. Coward. His jaw clenched. Excuse me. Prove you mean it, she challenged. Let's see if you have the guts to tear down your gilded cage. And just like that, their dangerous, beautiful mess of a story began. Would you risk everything for love, even if it was built on lies? Comment below. Your thoughts matter here on Made of Love. Adrian's penthouse was a world away from the streets Izzy had known. All glass walls, shimmering lights, and silent maids who barely made eye contact. The deal was struck. A temporary public engagement in exchange for room, board, and a promise of protection. But even with the warmth of the silk robe he offered, Izzy couldn't shake the chill that settled in her bones. They agreed to keep it strictly transactional. But love has a way of slipping through the cracks of even the tightest deals. You don't have to smile for me, Adrian muttered as she fumbled with the button on her sleeve during a public lunch. I'm not doing it for you, Izzy shot back, lips curved into a defiant grin meant for the cameras. Their banter became their shield. Yet behind closed doors, the silences spoke louder. Adrian watched her sketch in the dim light of his study. She drew homes, not palaces. Cottages by the sea, city windowsill gardens, tiny places built for two. You could have asked for more, Adrian murmured one evening. I only want what I can earn, she replied without looking up. That moment something shifted. It wasn't about wealth or scandal or family legacy. It was about two lonely hearts who, despite everything, saw each other. The Kingsley estate was a vision. Marble pillars, manicured gardens, strings of white lights woven through ancient oaks. Izzy arrived on Adrian's arm, transformed in a midnight blue gown. Her hair pinned up with tiny star-like gems. She felt every stare. Whispers followed her through every room. Who is she? A homeless girl, I heard. Disgraceful. Adrian's lost his mind. Adrian kept his hand firmly at her back. When he leaned down and whispered, You look like you belong here more than any of them, her heart cracked open a fraction. Later, beneath the chandelier's glow, Adrian led her into a waltz. Neither spoke. The air between them thickened with things unspoken. His touch steady, her pulse wild. For a brief, breathless moment, neither cared who was watching. After the dance, they escaped to a quiet terrace overlooking the hills. Izzy confessed she'd once lived in a house not far from here. Her father, a prominent businessman, fell in disgrace after a deal gone wrong with a rival. Adrian stiffened. The name she spoke was one he knew too well. His family's company had played a part in that downfall. His father's ruthless decisions had left thousands, including Izzy's family, destitute. He didn't tell her. Not yet. The world broke me once, she admitted. I swore I'd never let it happen again. Adrian, torn between guilt and tenderness, offered her his engraved watch. Time reveals truth, he said softly. And it heals if we let it. Izzy traced the inscription with trembling fingers. You're not who I thought you were, Kingsley. Neither was she. Helena Gray, Adrian's bitter ex-fiancée, made her move. She leaked old tabloid photos of Izzy's homeless years and a damning article about her disgraced father. Within hours, the headlines blared. Kingsley heir engaged to street girl from scandal family. The Kingsley board exploded. Adrian's father demanded the engagement be ended immediately to salvage the company's image and the pending merger deal. Adrian, cornered in a boardroom thick with contempt, made the mistake of staying silent. He didn't defend her. He didn't even look at her. When Izzy entered, summoned by a cruel assistant's call, she saw the carefully blank faces, the digital screen filled with her old life's horrors. Is this what I am to you? She whispered. Adrian opened his mouth. Too late. I knew better than to trust men like you, Izzy choked, tearing off the diamond ring and leaving it on the table. That night, Adrian paced his empty penthouse. Every shadow reminded him of her. The sketchbook left on the windowsill, a drawing of a sunlit garden labeled, Someday, broke him. He realized he hadn't just fallen for her. He'd built his first honest home in her presence. Adrian drove for hours until he found her boarding a late bus out of the city. "Izzy, wait." She turned, eyes weary but fierce. "Don't. Get it. Men like you don't choose girls like me. It's a fairy tale ending you can't afford." He stepped closer. "You don't understand. I should have fought for you. And I didn't because I was afraid you'd see the truth about me too soon." He confessed everything. His father's role in her family's ruin. His cowardice in that boardroom. The love he'd buried the night they first met. Tears spilled down Izzy's cheeks. "I wasn't running from you, Adrian. I was running from myself." And in that raw, rain-drenched moment, they finally chose each other. The next morning, Adrian shocked the world. He walked into the Kingsley boardroom and laid down his resignation. "If my heart disqualifies me from this table, I'm done pretending I belong here." He called off the merger, publicly denounced Helena's actions. And outside the estate's stone gates, as reporters circled, Adrian found Izzy. Kneeling before her, he held out his watch. "This time is ours if you'll have it." Izzy took his hand. "I always wanted a palace," she murmured. "But it turns out, you were it." The world blurred around them. For the first time, neither of them cared. The city felt unusually cold that evening, or maybe it was just the chill settling over Izzy's heart. She clutched her battered sketchbook to her chest as she waited at the terminal, a one-way ticket to anywhere in hand. The departure board flickered, and the noise of hurried footsteps echoed around her, none belonging to Adrian Kingsley. She'd told herself she didn't care. She wasn't that girl who waited around for princes in penthouses or promises whispered under glittering chandeliers. But deep down she'd wanted him to come. "Do you believe in second chances?" That was the question she'd once dared scribble on the corner of a napkin in the Kingsley estate sunroom while Adrian napped nearby. Now she wasn't sure what she believed in anymore. Behind her, a voice cut through the noise. "Izzy." She froze. Only one man said her name like it was a secret. Adrian. Out of breath, rain-soaked, and disheveled in a way no billionaire heir had a right to be. His gray suit was rumpled, his tie missing, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked terrified. "I thought you weren't coming," Izzy whispered. "I almost didn't," he admitted, stepping closer, his chest heaving. "But then I realized, if I let you leave without telling you everything, I'd lose the only thing in my life that's ever been real." Her heart stammered. "I'm done, Adrian," she said, shaking her head. "I can't be your charity case or a pawn in your family's games. I deserve more than that." "You're not a charity case," he growled, reaching into his coat and pulling out his watch, the one engraved with "The heart sees clearer than the mind." He unfastened it and pressed it into her hand. "I never gave this to anyone," he said. "It's my reminder to trust what I feel, not what I'm told. And right now, I feel like a fool who almost lost the woman he loves." Izzy's throat tightened. "You love me." It wasn't the confession she'd expected tonight. "I fell in love with you the night you told me about that lighthouse in your sketchbook," Adrian said softly. "And every day since, when you challenged me, teased me, and refused to let me treat you like you were less than anyone else. I loved you then, and I'll love you in every life we meet." She felt tears sting her eyes. "Adrian, your family." "Damn my family," he interrupted fiercely. "I called off the merger. I told my father to take his name and his legacy and choke on it." Izzy blinked. "You what?" "I want you. Only you. No pretense, no business deal. Just us." The announcement of her departing train crackled through the station. She glanced at it, then back at the man in front of her, the billionaire who'd traded everything for the homeless girl with a battered sketchbook. Slowly, she smiled through her tears. "Took you long enough, Kingsley." He gave a soft, broken laugh, the kind she'd never heard from him before. Raw and beautiful. "Come home with me, Izzy. Not to the penthouse or the palace. Wherever you want. Let's build our own place." Izzy threw her arms around his neck, the sketchbook pressed between them. She kissed him then, Not like the women in Adrian's world kissed, but like a woman who'd found the person she'd stop running from. And in that kiss, they said every word they hadn't dared. A few months later, a modest sunlit garden, filled with mismatched chairs and wildflowers, bore witness to the quietest, most beautiful wedding the city had never seen. No reporters, no business tycoons, just the people who'd loved them for their hearts, not their headlines. Adrian, in a simple linen suit, couldn't take his eyes off the woman in front of him. Izzy wore a soft, pale blue dress, no diamonds, no veil. Her hair loose around her shoulders, a delicate bracelet on her wrist, and the watch he'd given her nestled at her side. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant said. They kissed, and it wasn't just a ceremony. It was a promise. Later, at their reception held under the canopy of old oak trees, Izzy stood beside a small, newly opened art gallery, the Hart Collective, a space dedicated to showcasing work by unhoused and struggling street artists. Adrian's hand found hers. "You kept your promise," she murmured. "You gave me a life I never knew I wanted," he replied, brushing his lips against her temple. "And the palace. It was never the home. You were." Izzy turned, eyes misted, and kissed him again, this time slow, claiming and certain. As dusk fell and the world outside their little garden spun on, neither cared. They'd found what mattered: love, freedom, and each other. From pavement to palace, and beyond. Would you risk everything for love? Tell us in the comments. And if you believe that no heart is too broken to find its match, hit that like button, subscribe to Made of Love, and share this story with someone who needs a reminder that love can find you in the unlikeliest of places. Sometimes the richest love stories begin in the poorest of places, because it's not palaces or pedigrees that make a home, but hearts brave enough to choose each other. As the last of the guests trickled out of the sun-drenched garden, Adrian and Izzy remained beneath the ancient oak tree where they'd exchanged vows mere hours before. The air was thick with the scent of wildflowers and laughter that lingered like an old love song. Izzy leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. "I still can't believe this is real," she whispered, watching the fairy lights flicker in the twilight. Adrian smiled, pressing a kiss to her hair. "It's real. And it's ours. No contracts, no headlines. Just you and me, exactly where we're meant to be." She laughed softly, remembering the girl who once clutched a sketchbook in a dark alley, dreaming of places she might never see. And now, she owned an art gallery, had married the man who saw her heart before her history, and built a life not of marble walls, but of moments like this. "You were my home before I even knew it," Izzy whispered. Adrian turned to her, his gaze tender, and cupped her face. "And you made me believe again. In second chances. In love worth fighting for." They kissed, slow and unhurried, the kind of kiss that said everything without a single word. Around them, the garden hummed with the soft murmur of nature, the world perfectly indifferent to titles, scandals, or bloodlines. "Now it's your turn, Made of Love family. Do you believe love can find you in the most unexpected places? Have you ever met someone who saw you for who you truly are, not what the world expected you to be? Drop your story or your hopes in the comments, because we're all a little made of love here. If this story made your heart skip, hit that like button, subscribe for more beautifully messy love stories, and don't forget to share this with someone who believes in the impossible too. Because sometimes, love doesn't follow the rules. It writes its own. True love doesn't care where you come from or what the world says you're worth. It finds you when you stop running from yourself, and it builds a home in the unlikeliest of hearts.